Howdy, folks. Happy Thursday. Sorry for the delay. We have some things to discuss today. A light schedule in the NHL, only 2 games, but we're going to preview the Boston Bruins today. We were going to get to that yesterday, but we had such a good conversation with Kevin Allen that we wanted to devote a little more time to the preview. But here's Russ with the pre-show.
So, as I probably have voiced on this show, and I know I've told you, I'm not a big fan of Dave Roberts as a manager. Sometimes managers win World Series just because the players are good enough, and that's that. I really do kind of feel like that's the case here. And let's see. Can you hear us, Chris? We're actually just doing a pre-show, so.
Can you hear us?
That's me. I can hear you.
Okay. All right. We'll start in a few minutes here, but
yeah, just give us a minute. We're just doing
we're just doing a little bit of a pre-show here. So go ahead, Russ.
Yeah. So I was just saying, I'm not a fan of Dave Roberts, and so basically he has announced. I don't know why he would announce this, that he's going to play Albert Pujols in the game against Max Fried. Who Max Fried's really been like one of the best, if not the best pitcher in the playoffs down the stretch, and I don't get it. He's 3 for 11. He has no hits in the NLCS. Like, why in the world are you doing that?
Well, I mean, I would think that, Pujols' record in the playoffs and the fact that he's a right-hand bat and Fried's a lefty, you would think that would be maybe a motive. Now the question is, who is he sitting out? Is he sitting out? Obviously he's gonna play at first base because there's no DH, and he's a below average. He was a below average first base.
He can barely move.
Yeah, defensively he's inept, but at least he's played the position before. It's not like Kyle Schwarber is playing first base, who's a hack. He's a great
kind of like Willie Mays in the '73 World Series. That's what we're seeing here.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can say the Dodgers are completely done because, they were down 3-1 last year and came back and won it. Are the Red Sox tied 2-2 or are they behind now?
Yeah, he's frozen.
Oh no, they're on the brink of elimination. They have to win the next two.
So they're down. They're down 3.
Yeah. 2-3-2 format, which
Yeah, it's asinine. I mean, I'd rather have the 2-2-1-1-1, but I guess they're saving on jet fuel in Major League Baseball. It's their way of helping the environment and being green is to cut. Yeah, it's the series to 2-3-2. Okay, we'll get the show started here. Okay. Okay, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Thursday, October 21st, 2021.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology, and we're welcoming in Chris Hurley from the Lowell Sun. We're going to talk about the Boston Bruins. I mean, you could mention what you want about last night, but it's more of a season preview, Chris.
Yeah,
and I'm Michael. And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Okay, Chris, we'll start with that. The game last night, the Bruins and the Philadelphia Flyers. I drew a couple thoughts from this game. First of all, I talked to Russ about this. When you go out in free agency and you sign a goaltender to a 4-year, $20 million contract, and the other goaltender is a rookie who's played, I think, 10 NHL games, you would think that the goalie that you signed for $5 million a year is going to be the starter. And I think there's been some injury issue with Allmark, but I get the feeling that Swayman is really the starter, is really the number one, or at least they're going to give them an opportunity to be the number one. What's your read on that? What do you think about that situation, or what do you think is accurate about that situation?
I thought heading in that Swayman would, but I mean, money-wise, it kind of lends itself to the fact that they're going to give Linus a 50-50 split pot. I mean, it's a big contract, but I mean, you can't deny what Swayman has done last year to actually give the kid a shot, and so that's kind of a puzzler. actually. I mean, maybe it's goalie insurance. Bruins have had key goalies that haven't done well in the second season, Blaine Locke or anyone. But, given the fact Swayman's success rate from last season, you kind of really have to give the kid a shot at the starting role.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say, Mike, about last night is Jones was a little shaky at the beginning, got better. Swayman got shakier as the game went on. He definitely got fooled on the Atkinson shot. That was good. Some good shot deception, and it kind of bled through. But then I want to say the Konechny goal, even though they're coming down on a 2-on-1, he had plenty of time to cut down the angle and didn't. And I knew it was that. I don't know how better to explain it than if you've ever played any of the NHL video games and you see a shooter shoot at a particular angle and he already has the goalie beat by the way he's playing. And I knew the minute Konechny took that shot, it was going in. It's interesting because, the Bruins dominated the beginning of the game, first period, and they were down 1-0 because that's how it goes sometimes. Second period, they were still really good, but third period, they sort of spit the bit. And actually, Couturier did a nice job of goading Brandon Carlo into a penalty that probably sealed the deal. It was probably over before that. So it's a little uncharacteristic there for the Bruins, I felt.
Chris, the Bruins, had to make some sizable changes to their roster. Obviously, they added Taylor Hall at the deadline last year, but Krejci goes back to the Czech Republic. That leaves a big gaping hole at the number 2 center. It appears that their solution is to move Charlie Coyle up to number 2, which I don't know how good of a fit that is. But they add Nick Foligno, they add Eric Haula in free agency. Up front, to my mind, there is more pressure on the perfection line to stay healthy and to be as productive as ever for them to have success. And I don't know how much more pressure and how much more attention you can put on that line to carry the weight for this team. What do you think?
Well, absolutely. When that line was assembled, I used to joke with a friend of mine, the late great Bob Snow. I used to call it in one basket line because that's really what it is. It's the top 3 offensive weapons on one line. And the question was, how do you play off that? Originally, the game plan was, if you remember, the game plan was Bergeron, Marchand, Krejci with Pasternak, and whoever you can slot in those 2 spots for the other 2 lines. That's how it originally started. But now just those 3 playing together. Looking now, obviously the plan with them was we'll move Coyle up to the second line.
Right.
I don't know. I didn't know if that was a fit at all at that point. I still kind of have my doubts. And a guy like Studnicka in the minors right now, I can't help but think the next injury or the next possible lineup shakeup, they're going to try Studnicka maybe a shot, maybe him center, see what he can do. Then you move Coyle down. And right now, Foligno, I know, got banged up. So that's the opportunity now where they slot Coyle in there. I think essentially all the there, you just have this extra spot. And you look at the existing lineup and you got to try to figure, okay, well, who do you kind of have to remove from that? We kind of saw a glimpse of it with Wag going down in the minors and Moore going down. And it's just a question of finding that right combination.
Is there any indication how serious the injury is to Foligno? I know it was just last night, but have you heard anything regarding the severity of the injury?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard word yet, and but that's still to be known. But it's a veteran-heavy lineup too. You got to remember, usually during training camp, as you guys know, there's usually a spot or 2 left for a rookie to kind of break. Studnicka was really kind of tearing it up this camp. But then you look, and, when you add in Wagner and you added all the veterans, they had about 13, maybe 14 veterans with one-way contracts that weren't really going to be going anywhere. So you already kind of knew, the odds of Studnicka making it initially were very unlikely. And that's what ended up happening. With the veterans like Foligno, they're prone to maybe wearing down, and maybe that's what they were thinking. I don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody plans in the injuries, but usually that's the type of thing. It's a situation that always remedies itself when you have so many players looking to get ice. That situation happens where an opportunity happens, an injury, and somebody gets moved up.
Well, we'll cut to the chase on this one, Chris, just because the connection isn't great. What do you feel the team's going to do this year? What's your outlook on them?
I think they have as good a chance as any. The combination, it all really depends on finding the number 2 center. Mm-hmm. I don't think Coyle's the number 2 center. Studnicka, you give him a shot, see what happens there. I'm not really sure if Studnicka's the number 2 center.
Yeah,
he's coming back. I think some people are holding out hope to create him, and I think Rask are done. I think even if Rask, unless of an injury, if Rask is all healthy and everything, they're going to look at the goaltending situation. Don Sweeney's going to say, we're good. And so I don't think either of those two come back. I think really it's a question of finding that number 2 center. They'll be in the playoff picture. They'll definitely make the playoffs. It's just a matter of finding the center. And if it's a trade, you look at some trade options. You got DeBrusk's on the last year of a contract. He's really the tradable option that I think a team would even. But then you got to wonder, well, it's probably got to be who else can you include to get of a number 2 quality caliber center. And so I think that's kind of where they are at this point right now, up front, at least.
The last question I have, Chris, and thank you for joining us today. Patrice Bergeron is a Hall of Famer, one of the best 2-way centers I've ever seen. Being somebody who covered the Maple Leafs, he's been a dagger in their back for years. But you can't help but just, awe at his abilities and his championship pedigree, and playing on the Olympic team for Team Canada. He's in the last year of his contract, and from what I understand, once the season started, he didn't really want to talk about, an extension or anything of that nature. Now, that might be a negotiating ploy, but I can't imagine this team without Bergeron. And if Bergeron retires or leaves someplace else, then now you're looking for a number 1 and a number 2 center. How do you think this is going to play out?
I really think at the end of the day, I mean, he's going to be a lifelong Bruin. I mean, unless there was a team out back, that might be an option. But I really like to think that he would be a lifelong Bruin and just stay committed to this team that's kind of been very good to him. I mean, I remember him coming up. He came up, and one of the things I think that it is overlooked, Martin Lapointe took him in his home when he was an 18-year-old youngster and showed him how to become a pro. I think that one of those things really help cultivate him and indoctrinated to the NHL on how to conduct himself as a pro. You see so many rookies coming in that that they kind of lose sight of that type of thing. But I think he really found that within the LaPointe household, and really kind of carried it on his career. That I really don't see it ending in Boston. I don't see him leaving Boston for another team, so to speak. But I don't see him going anywhere else.
Okay. Well, Chris, we appreciate you coming on, and thanks for the insight. And it's good to hear that Marty Lapointe was sort of earning hefty salary at the time. But he's left a legacy, and that's good.
It made that contract worthwhile. Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Absolutely.
And like I said,
go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, people can find Chris the Lowell Sun, and also he's on Facebook. So yeah, I've known him for about a decade. So continuing on with the Bruins.
Yeah, we apologize for the connection, but it was
just one of those things. He had to switch computers. But I think the info that came through was good. He had good insight, always does. And it's interesting that they're giving Swayman the chance based off of last year and what he did in the preseason. Because he looked good in the preseason, and he did beat the Flyers in the preseason. I think I was covering one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
So now, different story last night. Fades a little bit in that game. Maybe they'll give him one more start if Allmark's a little banged up. And then they'll have to probably make a decision. Little surprised to hear that not about Krejci not coming back, but Rask not coming back. That Don Sweeney's probably going to say that's not happening. Because remember, you and I were trying to figure out how they would fit the salary in. And so it's like, if Rask doesn't come back, does he change his mind about playing for somebody else? That's what we have to wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. From the impression that from everything that I've heard and everything that I've heard in interviews with him, it sounds like it's Boston or bust. It's like there's nothing else. So I would doubt it. And it doesn't surprise me about Krejci because I think they were scrambling after finding out that Krejci was going back to the Czech Republic. I think they thought, okay, he's going to be back and we've got our number 2 center. And all of a sudden, right before the opening of free agency, they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And they paid more for Foligno than the Leafs were willing to. And the Leafs wanted Foligno back, but he got almost $4 million from Boston. And then they bring in Haula after playing for a number of different teams over the last few years. The thing I look at here, Russ, is that you look at the Bruins lineup past the top 3, past the perfection line, and past Taylor Hall, and it's fairly pedestrian, and it's at least the bottom part of it is fairly non-Bruin, if you get my drift. I mean, Haula and Nosek and
Craig Smith.
Craig Smith is, he plays a Bruin type of game. But what I'm saying is I'm surprised that they haven't at least brought up some of the youngsters like Studnicka or aren't playing Wagner, who is a good depth forward, and they've opted for these guys who are sort of mercenaries that they've brought in, and that's really not the Bruin way. So I'm a little surprised at the makeup of this team right now.
I mean, it's funny. Yeah, I am a little surprised, but I think this is what they could get for their cap money. It's like they're in a spot because of what they pay their other guys and what they're paying McAvoy. It's hard to get a second line center. Like, I'm looking at Nolan Patrick's numbers. He's got no points in 3 games. He's only had 5 shots. He's 52% on faceoffs, which is good, and 4 hits. Like, that's it. That's what Vegas hoped would be their second line center. So, there are no bargains out there for second line centers. So even if you get Dylan Strome, he's not a second line center.
Right.
So, there are no bargains out there for centers. Like, it's just
I know. Okay.
And centers are still the hardest things to come by.
And you could get in on the Eichel sweepstakes, but it's going to cost you a ton. Plus,
he might not play this year.
He's not going to be available for 4 months at least. So
again, I think we're going to get to a point where it's going to be hard for him to play at all this year.
Yeah,
we're not that far away from that right now.
Yeah, and just sort of transitioning to that. Kevin Adams, the Sabres GM, was interviewed, I believe it was on NHL Network Radio. And when asked about the status of the whole situation, he didn't offer anything much different than what we've been talking about. It's like, we're not going to make a deal that we don't think is fair for the value of Eichel. Essentially, they're not going to approve the disc replacement surgery because they believe that the fusion surgery is the best course of action. I know that Elliot Friedman indicated on his appearance on daily appearance on the Jeff Merrick show that Patrice, the new agent for Eichel, is investigating potential legal challenges to the Sabres and to the CBA. But honestly, you're going to have the weight of the NHL Players Association and the NHL on the Sabres side, because this is a collective bargaining agreement that they made. And I mean, unless here's the interesting thought. And, if Elliot Friedman is bringing this up, then obviously he's hearing it from somebody in the know that there might be sort of a one-time exemption to the CBA when it comes to the surgery situation that would allow Eichel. It would not set a precedent, but it would allow Eichel to have the surgery that he wants, and it would also allow the Sabres. I would assume would not allow the Sabres to be legally obligated regarding his salary. Now, that's the thing. It's like, I can't see.
I don't think Eichel will do it then.
Well, right. Well, he's so.
Because they're basically saying, go ahead and go through the surgery, but if it doesn't turn out well, we're not paying you. He's not going to do it.
Well, yeah. I don't know all the ramifications.
No, I'm just saying
no, you're right. There has to be a way to guarantee his salary, because that's But it would sort of be the hockey version of Bush versus Gore. So the Supreme Court decided Bush v. Gore, and when they did, they said, okay, this can't be used as a precedent for anything ever again.
But how long did that take? It was just like 100 and something days, wasn't it?
Well, the Supreme Court case took a couple weeks.
So a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So this will take 2-3 weeks just to get this thing to then. So then you're another month down the road. You're somewhere in middle of November. Then he gets the surgery. What are you going to get him for? 2 months of the season and maybe the playoffs? And you don't know what that Jack Eichel is going to look like without a camp and everything else. He'll have to go on a conditioning assignment. You're not talking about a lot of playing time in the NHL, even at that point.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's not playing this year because I can't see. I can't see a quick resolution to that.
No.
I would like to be surprised one morning and wake up and see, Elliot and Pierre LeBrun and Renaud Lavoie and Frank Cervalli and everybody like, oh, we have an Eichel trade. And then
look, it would be nice. It would. It's not impossible. But even last night at the rink, I heard all the offers have dried up and they're waiting to see what he looks like afterwards.
Right. The other game last night was the St. Louis Blues and Vegas, and the Blues win 3-1. Now remember, Vegas is without Stone. They're without.
Don't start building up the excuses.
I'm just telling you who they're without. They're without Stone. They're without Pacioretty, and the Blues get a goal from Vladimir Tarasenko, Barbashev, and Brandon Saad. And
you have pancakes without butter. Is it still not good?
No, it's not good. You need butter.
Such a liar.
You need butter. You need syrup.
Sometimes you don't have butter and syrup, Mike, and sometimes teams aren't at full strength.
And I don't want to eat. Then I don't want to eat pancakes. Then
fine.
Okay. Butter and syrup is part of the package, baby. But the Blues are 3-0, so they've gotten off to a good start. And I know that there was a lot of focus regarding Tarasenko before the season about him asking out for a trade. The tough nut on this one is the $7.5 million cap hit.
Although he's scoring, so it may not be that tough.
Right. If there's a team out there looking for scoring, was it Kevin that suggested the Canadiens when
it was me.
Okay.
I was the one who did. If he keeps scoring, it could happen. But Mike, I'm going to give you a quiz. Who has 7 points in 3 games for the St. Louis Blues?
This is without looking at their stats. I'm flying blind here. Jordan Kyrou.
A lot of power play stuff, but still, I told you, Jordan Kyrou can play. And if this is going to be his year and Jake Wallman's going to do what I think Jake Wallman can do to solidify their defense, and all of a sudden Clint Costa now is coming of age, because sometimes the bigger, stronger guys, he was rushed. They threw him right into the AHL. It was too quick. They probably saw the physical nature of his game and figured he could do it, and he couldn't. So he had to sort of go from scratch. All of a sudden, if these guys kick in, Mike, they do have a good team.
And you mentioned before about Jake Neighbors.
Jake Neighbors is another one.
So if they're getting that infusion of young talent in there,
they have been a good drafting team, and this is where it's showing.
Yeah, it did take Wallman a long time. We've been talking about Wallman for a couple of years. I mean, we speculated about Perunovic potentially making, and he's down in the AHL right now, I believe. Yes. So, there is a wealth of young and developing talent, and if they get good goaltending out of Binnington, then
he was good last night.
Yeah. So, all right, some news in the league, and then we'll review or preview the schedule.
One more thing, I'll mention one more thing about the Flyers last night. The good in their game was the top pairing looks really good. So they now have a good top pairing. The question for me is, I felt like Travis Sanheim could have played a little less sloppy, but again, with Risto being out for so long, Ristolainen, maybe they just need to get familiar again. So I'm going to give that a little time. Ristolainen was okay, but we both saw that on the Marchand goal, he was not set up right. Like, it was just one of those things where he was there, but he wasn't there helping. Cam Atkinson does look good. Tony Soprano's right. And he, I talked about the deception on the first goal. It was Broussard that went up to AV and said that he and Atkinson have some chemistry from Columbus. And so AV let that roll. And with Farabee, who you could literally put with anybody, they have a line. And that's, if they have two solid lines, that can take them a decent way. But still, the bottom six is the bottom six. Lawton did score last night. They did a lot right. But still, those first two periods were a little worrisome because, they were fortunate to have that 1-0 lead. And so we'll see. We'll see how it goes for them.
Now, in some news around the league, injury-wise, Jack Hughes, who'd gotten off to a nice start with the Devils, suffered a dislocation of his left shoulder. Now, the preliminary indications from the Devils are that it will not require surgery. They're going to try to rehabilitate it, but he will be reevaluated next week. Now, what they did, because I know people who have had dislocated shoulders, is they popped it back in. When you pop it back in, all the muscles around your shoulder are weakened, and you have to strengthen up those muscles to prevent it from popping out again. It's something that probably in the off season he's going to have it surgically repaired.
For sure. But you probably could get through the season with it.
Right, or if it pops out again, then they may have to have it surgically repaired.
Maybe he could talk to Baker Mayfield and see what he's doing. But he has a torn labrum. It's different.
Yeah, but it's on his non-throwing shoulder. It's on his
left. You still fall down on your non-throwing shoulder. Did you see him writhing in pain? I mean,
I know.
You want to be in that kind of pain? I don't.
Oh no, thank you. No, I'll pass. Unless you're paying me $20 million, you're like they're paying.
And he's not getting $20 million yet because he passed him a contract.
That's right. He's getting by on a paltry 8. Jeez.
Hard. That's why he has to do those commercials and live in a stadium.
Oh my God! Can I just say?
I like those commercials. Don't rip them. They're good.
No. Okay, the Progressive Insurance ones. The at the field with Baker Mayfield. Those are fine. Yeah. But he's on like 2 or 3 others.
Oh yeah, the other ones are bad.
Oh my God, they're terrible. They're absolutely horrible.
The Progressive ones have it right. I think that's where they had the essence of this guy's personality. Really down pat in that. So I love that.
Although giving like hot butter for popcorn in kids' Halloween bags, I don't know who came up with that idea, but it was a little bizarre. Other injury news: Methuselah Smith, Mike Smith, the goalie in Edmonton, Mr. 40, out a week with whatever injury it incurred in the previous game that Mikko Koskinen had to come in. Russ, I keep saying they need a goalie. I don't care.
You can say it all you want. Maybe they'll look at it again at the deadline. That's why I said I think they did have secret plans for Alex Stalock, because they weren't just keeping him around for no reason. I think he was sort of like the emergency goalie. And then when they saw that he may not play this year because of his heart, they really were stuck. And again, that wasn't the greatest of plans, even with that. But, now, yeah, they probably are going to have to look. But maybe Koskinen will just do well, Mike. Is that even possible?
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not. Not a chance. That's like Daniel Jones being a good quarterback, or no, it's not happening.
Some things are just not possible.
Okay, these are two separate instances, obviously not connected. The Winnipeg Jets and the Pittsburgh Penguins are both having COVID issues.
Yeah.
Penguins reported today, Mike Sullivan, the head coach, said Jeff Carter and Tristan Jarry are both in COVID protocol. Actually, he said Carter tested positive. Jarry's in protocol, so they're unsure about whether he is.
So he might get out quicker.
Right. In Winnipeg, Blake Wheeler is apparently in Minnesota, is sequestered in Minnesota while they're determining whether he is positive or negative. Mark Scheifele is asymptomatic and has had a positive and a negative test, so they're not sure about him. And I bring this up because everybody's getting sort of way ahead of themselves when it comes to the Beijing Olympics. But if you remember the statement that came out from the NHL, essentially what they said is if we have to start canceling games or postponing games because of COVID, the only time we can make them up is in that 2.5 weeks in February that's allocated toward the Olympics. And you know what? They haven't canceled a game yet, but this is 2 instances. You've had some other sprinklings around the league. It's not out of the realm of possibility that games are going to get postponed because of this. And if it does happen, I think, Russ, if like 3 or 4 games get postponed, you're going to see them bail out of the Olympics because we know the NHL.
Yeah, it'll be over at that point.
Yeah. The NHL doesn't really want to go, but they're going to go because they'll hold their nose and go. But if they have to postpone games, scheduling wise, it's not going to happen.
All right, so I have breaking news.
Okay.
If I was Blake Wheeler, I was thinking, and I'm stuck in Minnesota, which is being stuck. I am going to order whatever is popular there food wise in great quantity. And while looking up Minnesota food, I found out they had this thing called cookie salad. That is their favorite dessert. Listen to the ingredients of cookie salad.
Okay.
And it's popular in North Dakota too. I remember seeing.
I'm getting my diabetic pills ready here for this.
I remember seeing this when I was in a restaurant in North Dakota, more like a diner, but I didn't know what it was, so I didn't go near it, and I didn't ask what it was. But here's what it is. So buttermilk vanilla pudding. You have whipped cream.
Stop right there.
Whipped cream, mandarin oranges, fudge stripe shortbread cookies. So basically Keebler fudge stripe cookies. And berries could also be added. This is what are we talking about here?
This is a good one by Funky. Yeah. Pumpkin spice cookie salad. I don't know.
Do better.
It's somebody who had time on their hands in the afternoon and decided to make something that I would consider an abomination. It's sort of like the garbage plate in Pittsburgh. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who, honestly, and we know we have friends in Pittsburgh. I don't know who in their right mind would eat this amalgamation of food. It's just it's
Brian Metzler. That's it.
No, does he like the garbage plate? I don't think so.
He does.
Okay, we'll have to ask him. I don't want
to ask him if he's ever eaten the garbage plate.
Yeah, it'll have to be a 3-way text just to find out.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess. My guess is he has.
Okay, my guess is he has not.
Based on his build, I think he has.
Wow. Then what kind of friend are you, Russ? Jeez. Okay. The other thing is, and this will lead into our games for tonight. Mark Bergevin came out yesterday in a press conference, supposedly to sort of alleviate the tensions of the 0-4 Habs.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Exactly. But Eric Engels, former hockey buzzer, was on Sportsnet yesterday and said, if I had to bet right now, I would probably bet that this is the last year for Bergeron as GM, unless something changes drastically between him and Molson, meaning the owner, Jeff Molson, over the coming weeks. Supposedly,
yesterday, remember I said the coach is in question, the GM is in question. I could see there being a clean sweep of this organization.
And supposedly it has to do with money, but I think it was Elliot Friedman that said that there's been like rumors out there about Los Angeles with Rob Blake in the last year of his contract, and maybe Bergevin going out there with Luc Robitaille. I mean, who knows? The question is, a year after their inexplicable run to the Stanley Cup final, I mean, things just appear to be falling apart in Montreal. And tonight, Jesperi Kotkaniemi has a chance to stick a red-hot poker in a certain area of the Montreal Canadiens anatomy as the Carolina Hurricanes visit La Belle Provence.
Now, you know what happens in this game, right? They keep feeding Kotkaniemi. Eventually, at the end of the game, where if there's an empty net situation, they're going to feed Kotkaniemi. Like,
the report is they're putting him on the top line with Aho.
Of
course they are. Yes, exactly.
That's what they do. And I got to be honest, I call it a pick 'em. Like I at some point, Montreal is going to have pride and come through one of these games. I don't know if this is the one. Like, remember, teams have gone 0-8 before. Like, it could still happen.
Yes. I've seen a team go 0-7 to start a season.
Yeah.
That was the Leafs from, I think, like 2010 or 2011.
In this era, it seems to even get worse than even back then. Like back then it was like, yeah, it's not good. But now with all the coverage, it becomes really a bigger sticking point. Like if they, just as an example, if they're sitting in last place after 20, 25 games, then they're going to think about making a coaching change and other changes, I bet.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because look, it may not be able to save their season, but unless they want to tank for Shane Wright. Now, maybe they will, and maybe they'll just let it go too.
Yeah, and that if let's just say this: if they go 0-8 or 0-9, they're not trading their first round pick for anything.
No.
So, they
probably won't trade it now anyhow without it being protected. Right,
exactly. And we got to remember, twice in the last decade, the Habs have had a number 3 overall pick. 2011, it was Alex Galchenyuk, or 2012 it was Alex Galchenyuk, and was it 18 that was Kotkaniemi? Yeah. So twice in the last decade, and I can't say I don't know if they struck out on Kotkaniemi, but they definitely ruined it. They ruined both of them by what they did with them. They rushed them. They put them in positions that they maybe weren't ready to play. Yeah. Maybe Galchenyuk could have been a good center, but you throw him at 18, 19 years old. Kotkaniemi, you and I were both saying he should go back to Finland and play a year. They said, "Oh no, we're going to put him," and he had a good rookie year, but it was sort of like
what we said. That the minute after the draft, we were like, "Send him back," and they didn't do it. They played him. They played him on the first line center.
They did a Luke Schenn.
Yeah.
They played him as an 18-year-old, and his rookie year was really good, but then he got into bad habits, or the organization maybe had higher expectations. I mean, it just was a bad situation, and I think they ruined these. But now Kotkaniemi is young enough and has had some flashes of being good in the postseason that maybe he's not a lost cause, and maybe going to Carolina was the best thing for him.
And they did blow it with Mikhail Sergachev too, like they did.
Well, they traded him before they even found out what he was.
Right.
It's like, and now look at him. I would say he's, of the defensemen under the age of 20. I mean, he's got 2 Stanley Cup rings and he's under the age of 25.
You know who else has 2 Stanley Cup rings? That was a first-round Montreal Canadian pick, Ryan McDonough. They blew it with him too.
Yep.
And I know what it was too. They decided, and this is the funny thing. This is like when you should never decide these things while somebody was in college. They had decided in college that McDonough just wasn't going to be physical enough and not good enough offensively, so they didn't know what he was, so they sort of bailed out on him. Dumb.
Yeah, and Funky says, the Habs wanted Drouin because he was French. Yeah,
It does play into it.
It does play into it. It plays in with their general managers. It plays in with their coaches. It plays in with their players. And strangely enough, I guess at one point at the beginning of this year, before they called up Montableau, they had no French Canadian players in their lineup. And with Drouin, they did the same thing. They played him. They wanted to play him at center.
I remember the for lack of a better term, just the hullabaloo that was made when they drafted Mike Komisarek, an American from Long Island. Like, what are you doing? You can't draft an American that high. What the hell? You know what I mean? Like, and then they went on a run where they did draft a bunch of Americans. And
Mike Komisarek was good as a Hab because he played with Subban. He was the perfect. He was no, it's not Subban. He played with the Russian.
Yeah, the Russian who was an all-star.
Andrei Markov. He played with Andrei Markov.
Markov.
He was the stay-at-home guy, and Markov jumped into the play, and that was a perfect fit. But then when he went to Toronto, everybody realized what Komisarek was, which was
covered over a lot of stuff. Like Carey Price for the last decade has covered over a lot of stuff. They haven't drafted well. They haven't traded particularly well. A few things worked here, and everything hit in a shortened season. And now they're even worse off than they were 2 years ago.
Yep. Okay, some games from tonight. So Hurricanes and Canadiens at 7:00. We'll be anxiously watching that game.
I won't watch a minute.
I'll watch and rubbing my hands with glee. Okay, San Jose visits the Ottawa Senators. Erik Karlsson back to his old stomping.
I will watch that.
Yes, that will be that will be interesting because the Sharks have played
look good right now. If he gets like a 4-point game, what will people say in Ottawa? Like they'll be mad. It'll be good.
It's also Brady Tkachuk's first game back after signing his big contract, so that will be.
Deal.
Here is a potential Stanley Cup final preview, although one team is playing like they can make the Stanley Cup finals and the other one isn't. The Colorado Avalanche visit the Florida Panthers.
That's a good one to watch. I'll
check in on that one. McKinnon is back. And
who's in the Nets tonight? Do we know?
Well, that's the question. I would think that after night, they would put Bobrovsky in there. But there is a day in between. If they do play night,
then that means night will go against the Flyers.
Yeah,
Saturday.
Yes. Washington visits the New Jersey Devils. As we mentioned, Devils will be without Jack Hughes. And I think Blackwood is still out with a heel injury. He's out day to day, so Jonathan Bernier is going to carry the bulk of the starts for.
Do you think while he's out with the heel injury, he could get the vaccine, or you don't think he's going to do that?
Well, he's pondering it. He's pondering it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so we'll find out, as we go along whether
back to that.
He continues to ponder. The Islanders on their road tour visit the Columbus Blue Jackets at Nationwide Arena. The Blue Jackets have surprisingly been, better than expected.
It's a big test for them. It's a big test for the Blue Jackets.
Although they did blow out Arizona, who is a borderline NHL. Vince says in the chat that Bernier is out, so that means Scott Wedgwood is starting. Wow, both of them are out. I mean, that's. Jeez.
And Wedgwood's not terrible. He's not. He's a decent.
No, goalie. He's a good third goalie, but it's like to lose both your goaltenders within a week. Now Blue Jackets are. Max Domi had a big game against his former team and now is out injured. So that poor guy can't stay healthy.
Shame. He's a good guy. He is.
Yeah, I mean, I wish better for him. It's like I almost think that he signed that big deal with Montreal. They dump him after a year, and now he's going to be a UFA at the end of this year. I almost get the feeling he's got to go someplace sort of to restart his career, like with low expectations, get healthy, go someplace like Pittsburgh, I'm not saying Pittsburgh low expectations, but if he signs for $750K and he scores 20 goals, then he's a grand slam home run. But right now, making $5 million and playing out of position, which he's been playing center, and clearly he's not a center. It's just not good for his career. So, Calgary visits the Detroit Red Wings. I'm sure Kevin will be at that game tonight. The Rangers.
If Flamestore is listening, and he will later, he will pick the Red Wings because he is so down on Calgary right now. But I think if Vladar is in, I'm going to take Calgary. But I don't know if Vladar is in.
It depends on whether this is a back-to-back.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's a back-to-back and they're playing Detroit, then more than likely they'll start Vladar and then whoever the next day. The Rangers visit Nashville. Rangers are 2-1-1. Again, they got 2 points on Monday purely on the back of Shesterkin, who played fantastic.
No question.
Now
has played well lately, so this will also be a test for Nashville because if they want to have any hopes this season, they have to win a game like this.
Now, with 2 days off, will they go back to Shesterkin or will they go with Georgiev?
They'll go back to Shesterkin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anaheim, who is 2-2-0, play the Winnipeg Jets. It seems like Anaheim has played Winnipeg. They've played Edmonton. They're making the Western Canada tour right off the bat, which it's a little bizarre, but they're 2-2-0. The Jets without a victory right now. Of course, whenever you start the season,
the Winnipeg Jets without a victory, Mike, because the New York Jets got me a victory on my birthday. Don't forget that.
Yeah, the New York Jets did something the Bills couldn't, beat Tennessee.
That's right.
Yes. The Vancouver Canucks visit the Chicago Blackhawks. The Canucks are 1-2-1. The Blackhawks surprisingly are 0-3-1.
Now, is Quinn Hughes playing? Do we know?
We didn't play. He didn't play against Buffalo, so I don't know whether he will tonight. And the Blackhawks really need a victory because their defense has been bad, and I think they've exposed Marc-Andre Fleury and Kevin Lankin into a lot more shots than they would like to face. This has a
thing. Hold that thought. So Thomas Drance wrote, "There's no Canucks skate this morning, but Quinn Hughes, Podkolzin, and Shen are all out there. So chances are they're not playing."
Right. That means they're being bag skated or they're just taking the optionals.
They're just staying.
Yeah,
that's all.
And give us a plus or minus here.
Okay.
The Edmonton Oilers visit the Gila River Arena in Glendale, Arizona, to face the Arizona Coyotes.
So let's do an over/under.
I was going to say, here's the over/under. 7 goals over/under.
That's good. That's a good line. Is this for both of them or just for the Oilers?
Oh, just for the Oilers.
Okay.
I'm saying over.
I'm still going to go the over.
Yeah, I think Draisaitl will end up with 7 points. Five
goals. Japan, Mike. It's not the Olympics.
No, it's pretty close. The Arizona Coyotes are like Kazakhstan. It's
What's
like
Aiden Hill's goals against? Hold on. I need more data here.
No, they'll start Carl Valmelka.
No, how do you know that?
Because Carter Hutton's given up 14 goals in 5 periods. That's why.
Oh, that's right. Aiden Hill's on San Jose. I mean, Carter
Hutton. San Jose.
Let's Carter Hutton's. Hold on.
Carter Hutton's got a .680 save percentage, something like that. It's look it up. It's brutal.
Yeah. Hold on.
So
it's 8.75.
8.75 goals against. Is it like .680 save percentage?
714.
Oh boy, he's in the stratosphere.
Yeah, so the other guy's playing. This is gonna get really ugly.
Oh my god. I will check in on that one just like around the second period just to see if it's like 6-0 already, because it very, very well could.
Yeah, I mean Koskinen, just to answer Funky, Koskinen could get lit up, but they could still lose like 9-4, 9-5.
Yeah, who's gonna light him up? Louis Eriksson?
No, I mean they still have Keller, they have Chychrun. They have some guys. They do. I don't want to be like that.
No, let me be like that because I'm good at it. All right. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For our guest, Chris Hurley, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.